Well, here we are. Um, man, Anthony Moeglin, Andrew Kulha here, and
Andrew, you seem down. Andrew, you seem down. Is everything all right? How was your Monday? Good?
you know,
Decent?
there's always up. When you hit what feels like a rock bottom, you can always go up,
Yeah.
and I guess that's something that Browns fans know a little.
We know a lot about that. We know a lot about that. So Andrew, you made a funny comment right before we started. You said
Yeah,
we don't got to do any of the small talk. So we won't do any of the small talk. But what I will say is this: I had this whole bit planned where I was gonna, come on the show and like do some funny Brown stuff. And I was like, you know what? No, I don't want to do that. But then I got into the studio a little bit earlier, and the first title of our screen is WTF. So then I reversed course and I was like, you know what? My guys in Green Bay, they just need a little Browns action here tonight.
all right.
Because those boys, woo, the dog pound was barking
Yeah,
on Sunday. Woo!
really, they look like dogs, man, and the Packers in a different way look like dogs, and
Look like puppies a little bit,
yeah,
right?
yeah, and we're gonna talk through it all. What a I guess a shocking game.
Yeah.
Great game for you. So congratulations on the win. You know,
There's a
I'm,
lot. There was a lot that happened in that game, and what I will say is this, and I think that that win for Cleveland really puts into perspective what this team, the Browns team is. The Cleveland Browns defense is one of, if not the best defenses in
yes,
all of the NFL, and that part's true. Like that, there's no exaggeration when it comes to that. Myles Garrett, I've watched him now for 9 seasons. And this is the best version. This is his purest, best form I've
yeah,
ever seen out of him. He is virtually unblockable. There's a bunch of funny, screen grabs of the game where, the Packers had 2-3 guys trying to block him. That one Mina Kimes posted was,
yeah,
what was funny, where it's like the conga line thing. But inside the game plan, it's like, all right, don't let 95 beat you. But the biggest thing, Kevin, Andrew, that the Browns did this offseason was beef up the rest of that defensive line, because in the past couple years, it's been take Miles away, take the Browns defensive line away. That's not the case anymore because the interior rushes after the quarterback relentlessly. They got 2 guys on the other side, and Alex Wright and Isaiah McGuire, who get after the quarterback, and they make life really, really challenging for not only the opposing quarterback, but the opposing play caller and the opposing team as a whole.
Right. All right. Well, let's get into this top 5 we've got here. And you already kind of got a head start because I know you're excited, but let me officially say WTF, man. We came into this game talking this is a shoo-in for the Pack. There's no way that they should lose this game, and on paper there was really no way they should have lost that game. This was a team that was clearly overconfident, overhyped. They were reading their own press clippings, looking ahead probably to Dallas. But still, what the hell, man? You didn't tell me that the Browns were this good. You didn't, you kind of set it up like, oh yeah, it should be an easy win for the Pack.
I thought I was shocked. There's some incriminating is the wrong word, probably too aggressive, but there's a lot of text messages out there from about halftime or right before halftime that I sent that was like, oh yeah, this one's roll. This is easy. And over on the Browns channel, I even said my prediction for the game was like, hey, I believe it's going to be close in the first half. And then I think the Packers are going to be a little bit too much. I think that Matt LaFleur's too good. I think Jordan Love's too good, and that they'll pull away at the end. And we got to halftime, and it was 3-0. And I was like, oh, yeah. And then the Pack's going to just pull away a little bit. It'll be gradual, but they'll end up winning by maybe 2-3 scores. And they just – I underestimated the Cleveland defense. You saw it in week 1 against Joe Burrow and the Bengals, but they've done that enough. They've done that a couple times to Cincinnati, where they just kind of have Burrow's number. They've had it kind of for the last couple of years, so that didn't jump off the page. And frankly, last week against Baltimore, the Browns were solid on defense, but they still got 40-pieced because the offense had some bad turnovers. And I was like, I'm not really sure. And truth be told, I really like LaFleur. I really like Jordan Love. Both as a play caller and as a quarterback. And I was very surprised, Andrew, about Love's just general discomfort. I didn't think that the Browns were going to be able to do that to him, and they did, and it paid dividends later in the game where I thought it was going to go the other way, and they were going to kind of pull away and get comfortable. But it turned out he just got continually less comfortable, and you could see it getting pretty ugly towards the end of that game.
Yeah. What I thought was interesting, at least from my perspective, is clearly that first half, what you saw was a defensive slugfest. And I guess it made sense when you think about it. You know, the Packers have what looks like a really good defense. The Browns, we know, have a good defense. And Jim Schwartz, let's give him credit. He's a hell of a defense coordinator. At least in my book, he's pretty darn good. So it had all the makings of a defensive slugfest, but like you mentioned, you kind of expected, especially once the Packers got up 10-0, that they would just kind of chip away at that and maybe go up 13-0, 13-3, and credit to the Browns. They hung around and I think you and I texted about it a little bit. That was a fight, man. That was a fist fight, and Cleveland was just ready for the fight. And I don't think the Packers were. And credit to the crowd over in Cleveland. I thought that was a great crowd. The atmosphere was incredible. If I were a Browns fan, I'd be really excited kind of about, is this the future? This could be something that'd be cool.
So it's interesting, Andrew. We talked about this on the Browns show post game, and the one of the positives, because the Browns are in kind of this like weird reload phase. They're trying not to rebuild; they're trying to reload. And you look at that defense, and like it's so good. And the good part is that a lot of the key pieces are going to be guys that are around for a while. And what were I said two guys to watch for on our show last week, 94 and 49. Mason Graham is a problem up front. And you saw kind of the stats come out about that. He had a pass rush win rate. I struggled saying that yesterday, and I'm struggling with it.
It's a win rate.
Yeah, win rate, right? I sound like a 4-year-old. But he was winning his matchups at a 43% clip, which D linemen are only our good rate is 9%. So he was dominating, and you could see that Carson Schlesinger dude. I'm telling you what, he is so good at playing. He's everywhere. He is everywhere. He can cover. He chases receivers down. He had that couple big sacks. He had the one that counted. The other one got wiped away via penalty. But, he's a freak. And, like, those are young pieces. You're going to have Miles for a while. You'll have to slot out some of, like, the defense alignment. Those will be, like, rental pieces. But they have the core. Like, Grant Delpit, who had the interception, he's going to be around for a while. You're getting to the tail end of Denzel Ward's career, but he's still playing at a very high level. Their key pieces are going to stick around for a while, and that part's exciting. Now, the part that's not exciting is the Browns' offense is just bad. It's just bad. Yeah. Flacco's like we had this magic, like from Cleveland's perspective. Packers fans wouldn't know this, but you go back to 2023, and Flacco leads the Browns on this magical run where they rip off 5 of 6 and get into the playoffs. They sneak in. And they have some crazy games. He didn't throw for under less than 300 yards a game. Like that same player you saw on Sunday was ripping it all over the field. There was no throw he wasn't throwing. He was playing aggressive. He threw a couple picks, but he was trying to fit it in windows. He just isn't seeing it all that well, and it doesn't help that their offensive line is very, very bad. And the Packers exposed that a little bit. You could see like the offense is in like a bad spot, and the defense is in an incredible spot. So Browns fans are like, depending on it's like that meme of the train where like the one guy's looking out and it's like sunny and the other guy's looking out. It's like Browns offense is on one side, Browns defense is on the other side. And it's like Browns fans are trying to balance all that.
Sure. Flacco went 21 of 36 for 142 yards. He did not throw a touchdown, was intercepted by Xavier McKinney, averaged 3.9 yards per throw. So like you said, that's not great. On the other side of the ball, Jordan Love, 18 of 25, 183 yards. He did have a touchdown through maybe one of the worst interceptions I've ever seen. Let's talk about Love a little bit. And you and I had talked about this off air. In my opinion, and I think this really holds true over Love's career, he's got a live arm. He can throw the ball. And some of the plays he makes are just incredible to where you go, how the heck did that guy do that? He's a great athlete. When he's healthy, he can really, he hurt the Browns with his feet a little bit. he does a lot of things that make you go, wow, this guy could be an elite top 5 quarterback in the NFL. But I swear, in that same breath, he can make a throw or two a game where it's like, what is this guy looking at? That,
Yeah.
So to me, at least, what I see is a quarterback with all the talent who maybe is not processing the game the way at the speed that you would want him to. But I'd love to kind of hear your thoughts on Jordan Love.
Yeah, there's a couple things that stood out to me, and I'll put my coat on here in a little bit so we can get our clips back to normal looking, because I don't know if you want my Browns jersey and all your stuff, but for Jordan Love, what stood out to me first was there was a graphic early in the broadcast where they compared his first 35 starts to Rodgers' first 35 starts, and it is like looking in a mirror. I was like, holy cow, like he's playing really good football, and just throughout the past couple seasons, I didn't follow the Packers on a game-by-game basis. I'm a Jordan Love fan. I think he's live. Like you said, I love a lot of stuff he brings to the table. But like you think back, playing the position before, nobody ever remembers all the touchdowns. They just remember the mistake he made, right? Mm-hmm. And he made the critical error. And when I texted you about it, you had said something along the lines of like he's always good for one of these mistakes a game, or is that a thing? Like, is that a thing with him where it's like, hey, you're always kind of waiting for that other foot to drop on kind of every Sunday when he's throwing it all around the field, but that there's maybe a bad decision coming?
Yeah. There was a game last year where Love showed up pregame wearing a Brett Favre jersey. And, there's a lot of talk amongst Packers fans that, it's kind of fitting. Favre, for as great as a quarterback as he was, we all know he threw the ball to the other team often, so much. Now, the difference, at least from what I've seen in these two quarterbacks, because I watched a good chunk of Favre's career, I watched all of Rodgers' career, and now I've seen all of Love's, is with Favre, when he was throwing interceptions, is because he was trying to make a big play, right? He was trying to fit it in between, 3 guys down the field. He was going 40 yards down the field. He was doing something kind of silly. He was playing backyard football, and that was Brett Favre, and that's why we loved him. With Love, it seems what I can see at least is sometimes he seems to have accuracy issues, especially under pressure. Now, you could say the same for every quarterback, I'm sure. When you've got pressure, you start to, you just see the game differently. But like I said, at least in my opinion, he seems to sometimes be seeing something that's either not there or he's reading it wrong. And on that interception, I mean, he threw it right to your guy. And Matt LaFleur talked after the game, that concept was that, they were hoping that, was it Delpit? Is that who it was who got the interception? They were hoping that he was going to follow the slant down the middle, and he just stuck right there. So, if you're a quarterback, what the heck are you thinking? Like, yeah, I know the play calls for this guy to vacate, but he did not vacate. So why are you throwing the football there?
Well, it's a really good point by you, because that shows me on that particular play. And I'm not going to make a general broad brushstroke statement that he always does this, but that tells me that's predetermined. Right. That's exactly what it showed me, because in that situation, like I'm putting myself in that spot. Right. We just need a completion. And truth be told, Andrew, if they just run the football there, we're talking about a 10-3 win for the Packers right now.
Yeah.
Or somebody in Brown's world tweeted today, was like, if they just punted on 3rd down, it would have been the end of the game, right? Like that, if they just gave it back to the Browns and forced them to drive the field, we'd be having a different conversation. But, that tells me that he locked on. He's like, all right, what I'm seeing pre-snap is that the Browns are in man coverage, and Grant's going to run with the inside slant with Tucker Kraft, and I'm going to have that window. Well, Grant did a good job of just slide. You'll watch the tape. He slides a little bit with Kraft and then jumps right to the slant. He did that. It was funny. Somebody posted this again in Brown's Twitterverse today. Somebody posted, he made the exact same play against the Steelers 2 years ago. Dude, same route concept, it looked exactly the same, where he worked in with the first slant and then jumped right out and snuck the second slant. For me as a quarterback, I'm thinking, if I just throw an incomplete pass here, I'm okay. The only thing I can't do is throw a pick. I'm going to quadruple check to make sure that nobody can pick this off. So if that is, I'm slow to this, fine. If I'm seeing it through, fine. If I see Grant fly out on it, boom, I'm throwing that sucker into the dirt or into the 10th row or whatever it needs to be,
Right.
just so I'm safe on it. But he threw that thing, and like my jaw was on the floor. I couldn't believe he pulled that trigger because it wasn't even close to being open, and it set the Browns up. Even if it set the Browns up outside the 10-yard line, there would have been one thing. Grant takes it all the way down to the 4, and you're like, oh my gosh, Cleveland's in it, man. Cleveland is going to be in this thing. And that was just a critical error you just can't have. You can't have that if you're a rookie. You certainly can't have that in your 6th season.
Yep. There was a play last year, and I'm sure you saw the highlight. Love was feeling the pressure against – it was the Rams, and they had him back against his own end zone, and he was falling backward, about to be tackled, and he literally just threw it to the other guy. And it seems like he has these plays where you're like, what are you doing, man? Like, just make the smart play. And you mentioned, you can't be making those plays. If you're a rookie, it's one thing, but he's been in the system for now quite some time. He's sat behind Aaron Rodgers, who is notoriously conservative when it comes to where he throws the football. And you'd think that maybe Love would have learned some of that. He has not. After the game, Matt LaFleur was pretty quick to say that was on him, meaning that he shouldn't have called that play. And you're right. Had they run the ball, had they punted, had he taken a sack, there's so many situations where that scenario would not have happened. What I'm going to ask you here, and I think you're uniquely qualified to answer this as a former college quarterback at John Carroll University, a great program. My question is that a quarterback thing or a coaching thing? Because clearly they coach the timing of that play. Who really bears the brunt of the responsibility for an interception like that?
Yeah, I give equal blame to both parties. Like if you're grading that, I give an F to the quarterback for doing that. And I give an F to the play caller, because that, if you just, and it's in a vacuum, Andrew, maybe it's different. If you take time, score, situation, opponent out of it, and you're like, hey, I want to put the nail in the coffin and move the sticks and end the football game and take a knee because I'm facing Lamar Jackson or I'm facing Josh Allen or insert whomever on the other side, that's certainly I would hear that conversation. The Cleveland Browns offense yesterday was anemic at best. Like they couldn't, their only big plays were on the ground. With 3 minutes to go in the game, you cannot run the football down the field, 70-yard drive. And the Packers punter, and his name's slipping my mind right now. He was a superstar yesterday. There was 3 times where he completely and totally flipped the field. And if you just run that football, the Packers are 3-0. So I'm like, when he even dropped back the pass, I'm like, what are we doing here? And then he's doing it because he trusts his quarterback to make the right decision.
Yeah.
Quarterback messes up big time. Like both of them basically could look at each other. And I guess this is meme night because it is, I'm thinking of the Spider-Man meme where they're both pointing at each other. And it's like, hey, you messed up. And the coach is like, why'd you throw that? And the quarterback's like, why'd you call that? And meanwhile, the Browns fans are going freaking nuts because they're tying this game. Both of them are totally at fault. Shout out to the coach for taking the blame. That's always the right thing to do, to not throw your guy under the bus. But both of them, in my opinion, are way in the wrong. And from the quarterback's point of view, you simply cannot throw that football. I'd have just called a 32 dive and got out of Dodge and got out of there. But, it isn't the way it happened.
You live and learn. For his faults, Jordan Love is still a young quarterback, all things considered. We're not talking, especially when you look on the other side of the ball, there's Flacco who's 40. So we're talking about quarterbacks at different parts of their career. He's still well within his ability to learn and get better. And
when they meet in the Super Bowl in February, they'll have that. They'll have that.
It'll be an epic rematch, a grudge match, you could even say. Topic 3, let's give the Browns some credit. I feel like we did plenty of that already.
Yeah, we're good on that. So we're just going to plenty of credit. Hey, I'll go like this for the Dak conversation because we've given the Browns plenty of credit.
They've gotten some good shine in this podcast, though.
Yeah, it was. Here's a question for you, and then we'll move on to the Cowboys. Sure. This is a widely debated topic in Browns world right now, and I need your opinion as an outsider. Okay. The jerseys. What did you think?
Loved them. I loved
them.
Yes, I thought they were sharp.
Yes.
they were cool jerseys in my opinion, man.
Okay.
Cool.
It is. There is a group of people who hate them, and
sure.
I am in the camp of those were sick. They've had some stinkers in the past, and those were not one of them. Those were pretty sweet.
Yeah. If I were in Cleveland, I'd want them to make that their home uni. I mean, that was a cool uniform.
Those brown helmets, I was really scared about them when they announced them. But the fact that they're matte and they're so dark that it's almost like you can't. Everyone knows it's the color brown, but it's so dark that it gives off maybe like it could be black. So it's got a really cool feel to it, but also it does what it needs to. I'm glad to hear that. I'm clipping that and sending it to a lot of people because you are right and they are wrong.
You know, I watch a lot of college football, which is probably not surprising, and it kind of gives me like a college vibe to it, just the way that the jersey set up. And some college jerseys can be kind of trash, but when they're really good, they're epic,
Mm-hmm.
And
the good is great and the bad is awful.
Yeah, and that really hit me in a happy place. So
there we go. That's getting clipped and sent out to a lot of folks in Cleveland, just so you know.
Well, I'm happy I could contribute as you all broke my heart this weekend. So, let's talk about the upcoming game for the Packers. It's a big one. They're going to be taking on the Dallas Cowboys down in Jerry Dome, down in Dallas. The Cowboys are 1-2. They're coming off a loss to the Bears. So this is going to be a big game for the Packers. The divisional opponent, your divisional rival, just beat this team. The Cowboys are, I don't know if rudderless is the right word. They just don't really seem to have it together right now. Mm-hmm. Now, with that said, they've got a good quarterback in Dak Prescott. I think he's a very polarizing quarterback, and he always has been. He always has been throughout his NFL career. What I'd love to do is just pick your mind on Dak Prescott, both this season and in general. He's made a lot of money in his career. He's the quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys, a big time star, but he's not always come up in these big moments. So, what are your thoughts in general on him? And then we can kind of dive into the matchup here.
What a polarizing player, because, there's so many guys, so many people, and I think both sides of the argument probably feel that they're right. Because if you're going to tell me he's one of the top, 10 quarterbacks in the league, maybe 10's a stretch, but he's certainly I'm hearing the conversation. I'm hearing the argument because he's got every throw. And there's one that stood out to me against the Bears. He was getting hit. He was throwing like a fade ball up the right side, and he was getting hit as he released the football, and he dropped it into a bucket right off his receiver's fingertips. The receiver ended up dropping it or whatnot. And it's like every throw, he's got every throw that you need. And he seems to be, he seems to kind of get them in the right spot often. And he's just it feels to me, he's just kind of the just weird, bad stuff happens to the Cowboys at all times. Like, for example, this year, you put CeeDee Lamb in the backfield and hand him the football. The one time you do that, and he busts his ankle up and could land on the IR. And it's like, well, coach, what were we doing? Again, what were we doing giving the ball to CeeDee Lamb, the best receiver, one of the top 10 receivers in the NFL, handing him the football? Why are we doing that? And now Dak's got to deal with that. And if they go on a losing streak, their defense is horrific. But like him or him specifically, I love him as a player. Like, gives me Aaron Rodgers vibes where he can make every throw on the field and lead a team and throw for 400 yards, but also, maybe have, he's super accurate in my opinion. I really like him as a quarterback. It just feels like weird stuff happens to the Cowboys at all times. And he ends up being the scapegoat for a lot of it.
Yeah. Well, that's part of being the quarterback. You take the good with the bad, and when things are going good, you're the star, you're in all the commercials, and when things suck, you're the guy who's going to get the brunt end of that. I just think it's so interesting to look at Prescott's career. If you can believe it, he's been in the NFL for 10 years now.
It's crazy, man. That's
coming out of Mississippi State. He was a 4th round draft pick. Was it Tony Romo that he ended up
replacing? Tony Romo. Okay. So if you want to go down even a weirder, vault, just go YouTube his first game, because I think Tony broke his collarbone maybe. Yeah. And it was like I want to maybe even say T.O. might have been on it was like the connection between guys. It's like, holy cow, Dak Prescott played with these guys. It's just very funny. It's a very funny thing because 10 years is a long time. 2016 is when he came out. He's been doing it for a while.
Yep. And he's also had a couple different coaches too. I mean, think about Jason Garrett, Mike McCarthy. I'm just looking at this guy's stats. I mean, in 2019, he threw almost 5,000 yards, 30 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. The big season that comes to mind was a couple years ago, 2023, when the Cowboys were pretty darn good. Threw for 4,500 yards, 36 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. I mean, Prescott can fill up the stat sheet. And granted, I think he's had some nice pieces around him in his career. Ezekiel Elliott in his prime is a good one. CeeDee Lamb is somebody else who like you mentioned, when he's healthy, he's arguably a top 5 receiver in the NFL. Looking at it from a Packers perspective, I imagine it's going to be the same game plan. Very same game plan they had for Joe Flacco, and just get after the guy. He's been around for a little while now. He's probably more mobile than Flacco. He's still 32 years old, though. He's got a history of injury. Pressure, and more pressure in my world would be the way to go after it.
There's no question about it. And I think that, making them one-dimensional, okay, and really understanding that, hey, the Packers the Cowboys aren't going to be able to run the football, and you're going to force Dak to get back and go. That unleashes the Packers defensive line, which we didn't even talk about it. I think is a special group. Like, I think the Browns defensive line is really good. The Packers defensive line is up there with on the same level, same caliber as what Cleveland has. And when you can dominate the line of scrimmage, which the Packers did and do, you make it really hard on the opposing quarterback. And with CD out, I think that the Packers secondary can really just focus in on take George Pickens away and make the other guys beat you, try to make the other guys beat you. And then you got Dak dropping back. If he's dropping back 40 plus times on Sunday, it's advantage Packers, because that's not the recipe for success for them in this style game with the way that their defense has been playing, which is horrible. And if they want to try to win this game, and I think you're right, it's going to be a very similar game plan from this Packers defense.
Yeah. If your hopes as an offense are resting on George Pickens, you might be in trouble. Now, again, I don't want to go into this feeling a little bit more hyped than I should be, because I found out what happens when you're overconfident.
We learned our lesson.
Yeah, we're going to take it a game at a time and play at a time. I think that's a good transition into my last point here. It's week 3 ultimately. The Browns beating the Packers. That's a week 3 game. When we're sitting here talking after Thanksgiving, you'll probably still remember it because it was a great win for you guys. But you won't
even be in your mind.
Not even a blip in the radar if the Packers are legitimately a Super Bowl contender, right? It's just something you don't think about those first couple weeks of the season at the end of the day. How and I'm sure you've been on the receiving end of some beatdowns. How do you move on as a team and just kind of put it behind you? Because that's really what the Packers need to do. They cannot dwell any longer on this loss.
What's funny is a lot of times these types of games are a blessing in disguise, and I think that, Micah Parsons had a lot of good comments afterwards. Like, sometimes, you just play like crap. And sometimes that's what happens. But what I do think is good for the Packers is that you get a taste of adversity. You get this nasty feeling in your mouth, and you get this they watched I'm sure that film session was horrible, right?
Oh, it's brutal.
I'm sure it was brutal. And they probably played that last sequence 10 times in front of Jordan Love, saying never let this happen again. And that's how you grow as a player. That's how you grow as a team. And, adversity comes in many ways. And, I think to, a future scenario where they're in Lambeau Field and there's snow coming down and it's January and it's the NFC Championship game or the NFC Divisional, and, they're down a touchdown, they're down 10 points. And you lean back on experiences like the adversity you faced when Cleveland beat you, and you had the Cowboys on the other end, and you had to show up. The offense, guess what, Jordan? You can't feel bad anymore because we have to score 35 points on Sunday to win a football game because Dak's going to keep his foot on the gas pedal and do that. And there's no option. You're right. Like, they have to watch this, get it out of their system, and move forward. So, the way I see this is it could be viewed as, hey, this ended up being, week 3 in Cleveland ended up being a good thing for the Packers in the long run because they learned a lot of stuff from it. Jordan Love got better from some adversity, and it paid dividends later in the year. And that's the way it has to be. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. They have to move on and make that the reality of this Browns loss.
Yep. And that's life in the NFL, man. You cannot dwell on it for too long because this is a league in which every week a team can beat you, and the Packers found that out the tough way. And like you said, we'll see if they can use that as a lesson. If Matt LaFleur is anything of the coach that I think he is, and I think he's a pretty darn good coach, that's something that he's going to need to really hammer home with his team over the next couple of days because Dallas is coming and they're going to be extra motivated, just like Micah Parsons will be. Both sides are going to be wanting to make a statement on that Sunday night football game.
So I wanted to ask you about that. How excited are you? How excited are Packers fans to see Micah go against the boys?
I think it's going to be good. He's slowly ramped up over the last couple of weeks, and I would imagine this is going to be the point where they say, "Okay, go get it," because if they don't, he might have mutiny. He's going to be very very motivated to get after it. Everything I've heard about this guy is that he uses things like this to fuel him, like most good players do, right? I mean, Aaron Rodgers for years talked about his draft slide, even after he won multiple MVPs. So there's definitely going to be high emotions, and especially coming off a loss like the Packers are. You don't want to see those emotions tumble and become sloppy. So I think that's probably the big thing LaFleur is going to have to do this weekend is make sure that the team remains focused. But if you're Micah Parsons, or if you're coaching Parsons, just say go get it. Go get after it, man. Because why not? So
and you almost hope that there's stuff in there, from a defensive perspective, that there are a couple plays where it's like, hey Micah, your only responsibility is quarterback, right? Yep. Don't worry about anything else. We got your contain or we got your gap or whatever. We'll cover for you. You and this play at the quarterback, and that's the only thing on your mind. And I'm excited to see it. I'm really excited, just as a general fan of football, just to see what that's going to look and feel like on Sunday night.
Yeah, anytime you get two kind of historic franchises together on a Sunday night football game, that's always kind of fun to watch. So, I'm sure we'll have a lot to talk about next week. Good luck to you and your Browns. You've got the Lions.
We got a big one for you now. We got the Lions. We got the Cats coming to town, who, as we record this, are in a dogfight with the Ravens. So if we do our job, we'll handshake again and be friends again if we can take care of the Lions for you.
That's right. Well, Anthony, thank you for your time. To all the listeners, all the readers of Roundtable Sports, with the Browns, with the Packers, we appreciate everything because this is a cool opportunity. We get to talk about our favorite teams, and something I don't take for granted. I don't take you for granted either, buddy. So thanks for hopping on with me.
Appreciate it, man. And everybody, go read some of Andrew's stuff. It's some of the best stuff you'll find on Packers coverage. So get over to Roundtable and go follow him. And if you're bored, go check us out on Cleveland Browns Roundtable as well. Got a lot of good stuff everywhere. So,
all right. Well, we'll talk to everybody next week. Anthony, you have a good one. We'll talk to you soon, man.
Yes, sir.